Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. And I hope you are enjoying the summer. For us in the UK, it's very, very hot and we are loving it, even though it's tormenting us. But hey, at least we are happy that we are having some sunshine. So today, Nelly and I, we are on another session today on navigating single parenting. And today we are talking about a very, very delicate topic where people don't want to talk about it. And before we even go into it to introduce ourselves, the quick question that I just want to ask you is, should your child contribute financially while still living at home? Because you know what? Some parents believe that charging their child, you know, is either putting pressure on them or it's not right and all of that. And sometimes parents are confused. So today, Nelly and I, we're here to share our perspective. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Peggy Barre. I'm the founder of Arise and Thrive Academy, domestic abuse practitioner. I will pass you to Nelly to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session. I am Nelly Kwasinwi, a social worker, transformational life coach, and founding director for Hand in Hand Community CIC. We are always thrilled to have these sessions because we speak it right from the heart. We don't have any rehearsals. So we are here to learn from you and we share our experiences because it's all about learning and growing and trying new things. So here we are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this topic, this morning when I was just wrapping my head what topic for us to talk about, Nelly, one thing just came in mind. And this is where sometimes you're discussing something with another parent and you feel like you're a bad parent, from their response. And I was having a conversation with this parent and I told this parent that I was charging my son to pay some money towards contribution towards the house. And she said, no, that is wrong. You don't have to do that. And she's got three adult kids at home. Well, kids who are living with her at home, they're working. And I asked her, I said, so your children don't pay anything? And she said, no. Well, she made me feel like what I was doing was not right. I wasn't right to do what I was doing. So anyway, I had to give my clarification, which of course I'm going to be sharing some of it today, why I had to do that. So this is the dilemma where parents are caught into that middle. Should I ask my child to contribute financially or not? Am I putting pressure on them or am I teaching them financial independence? That is a question where parents are grappling with. And hopefully we can navigate through that today and share our experiences, bounce off each other. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, Peggy. Just before we continue, are you streaming? Because I can't find it on, or have you shared?
I think I have
Be-
shared. Just bear with
Because I
me.
can't find the link.
You can't find the link.
So while Peggy is looking for the link, just keep thinking, should we charge our children when they still live at home? I know when it comes to finances, there are lots and lots of opinions. People have different opinions about it, but all of it is to try new things, understand, identify why you are taking the decisions that you have taken. And probably you might have taken without thinking of the impact. But again, it doesn't mean that whatever you are doing, you need to stop it straight away. It's for you to, we always talk about being intentional. So it's for you to explore that why, and not just on your own part, the impact that has on the child. So it's all about exploring, because sometimes it's just a norm. Sometimes parents, I mean, like single parents, it's easy to be in financial difficulties. So you charge to ease off that pressure from yourself. But again, it doesn't mean that because you charge or you don't charge, you are a bad parent. So let's just explore. If you have
Yeah.
any comments, please type it in the comment and we will read that out.
Yeah. So Nelly, I've shared the link to you on WhatsApp. I think we're streaming. I've just checked we're streaming. So before we actually roll with the conversation, there is no one size fit all answer, right? Because people are going to have their different perspective, whether they want to charge their child or whether or not. So every family's financial situation, values, and circumstances are different. And so the real question that we are asking is that, should I charge my child rent? And the better question is, what will be the best way to prepare your child for independence and responsibility? That is the perspective that I want us to look at this from. What will be the best way that you're preparing your child for independence and financial responsibility? I will share, for example, my experience as I was talking. When, and again, we're talking about age appropriate here. We're not talking about, you start leveling your child when your child is still, in the house, that hasn't got any job, or she's trying, and you're putting pressure on them, go get a job, go get a job. No, you're talking about a child that have actually grown and they found out, what, I want to get a job, I want to get some extra income, and then are they prepared to contribute towards whatever finances or running the house? What I did is that when my son actually had a full-time job, Nelly, what I said to him is that, out of your wages, because again, sometimes when children start earning money, they get so excited. They get so excited and they're buying stuff here, buying this, spending this, so I called my son one day and I said, okay, now I am so proud of you that you've gotten to an age where you can actually go out there, find a full-time job. You're working. What is your saving plan? What are your plans, your financial budget? Like, give me a budget. How are you budgeting yourself or managing your finance? And to be told, he did not have any budget. He did not have any plan with his finances. So he gets his wages, he buys this, he spends and spends, and then he did not have any plans, whether saving plans or whatever thing is investing in his own self-development, all of that, nothing. And so I said to him, and then at that time, I wasn't asking him to buy anything or contribute anything to the house. And so I said to him, I said, now you're 18. At that time, he was 18, 19. I said, by now, you should maybe have been living in your own place, but hey, you're at home and you can stay at home as long as you can. But I want you to be able to have that responsible attitude or responsibility that you have got to contribute towards whatever thing you want to contribute in the house. And I asked him, I said, what do you think you're going to contribute? And he's the one that gave me his figure. He gave me his figure that this is what I'm going to contribute. But you know what? The first 6 months that he contributed, I actually saved that money aside, because 6 months down the line, he wasn't doing a full-time job anymore. And he will come and ask me for some support, which I was going into that account to use that same money to support him. But the attitude that I wanted him to have is that you are not just going to grow up, think that you can work your money and spend the money. You have to have an attitude that, hey, at the end of the month, I need to pay bills, I need to pay for rent, I need to pay for that. You need to start preparing now before you move out. And luckily, that habit stuck with him up to now that I speak. Whenever he knows that this is what he's contributing. So again, when you have that conversation with some parents, as a parent, am I doing wrong by doing that? Am I wrong in asking that child to contribute? Or am I doing the right thing? So again, that is the dilemma that sometimes it makes us as parents, we feel guilty that maybe we are taking from our children when we're not supposed to. Where do we find the balance?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Peggy. I think we are in a world whereby there's a lot of judgment. People judge us for what we do and what we don't do. I think
Mhm.
for us is to look at the intention. What is the intention behind any decision that you take? And for yours, it's a valid one because you did not take it for yourself. You saved it for your child.
Mhm.
So some parents, they don't look at the intentions, why are they taking it, which I think we will go into that much later, because sometimes, or I can just say it now, sometimes parents take it as a norm, because I've heard that parents say
Mhm.
once their child gets to 18, it's a must. They are staying in the house, they must pay rent.
Yeah.
And some parents argue that whether the child pays rent or they don't pay rent, the parent has to pay the same amount of rent to the landlord. So to
Mhm.
some parents it matters, to some parents it doesn't matter. Like in my case, I've never charged my children to live at home. However,
Mhm.
because you specified of rent, I've never
Mhm.
charged any of my children to pay for rent. However, when it comes to something like council tax,
Yeah.
I tell them, I say, this is addition for my council
Yes.
tax, because you are an adult, you are not
Yes.
in education. So the council has put this additional, you need to pay the additional amount that has been added onto my council tax. And then,
Yeah.
like for weekly groceries, they make contribution. We've never sat to say you need to make contribution of so much, but they make
Mhm.
contribution on a
Yeah.
now and again. But then, like, they go on their specific kind of diet and all whatnot. And in my
Mhm.
house, it's just so funny, because when one person starts a meal, a diet thing, everyone gradually goes towards that. So then
Yeah.
it's like four people eating the same meal that one person started, and it's just a pattern in my house. So then that child who is paying for that food, who is buying that food regularly, they buy bigger quantity. But me as a parent, what I do is sometimes I take that off the child and I buy my own quantity. I mean, they know that me too, I'm managing financially. So then
Yeah.
I make my own contribution, because I don't just want to sit and watch them provide food for the whole house, because to me,
Yes.
I feel that I'm putting much pressure on the child.
Yes. And that is so crucial, Nelly. And that is a differentiation where we need to make that distinction that are you doing it as a way of teaching that child to be financially responsible? Or are you doing it as a way of taking, like, because there's some parents where even though they can provide, they will still be putting pressure on that child that you need to, because that's what the society says. The society says that when a child becomes an adult, they have to contribute. But that is just what, do you know, when my son turned 18, my son was panicking. My son knew that I was going to kick him out once he's 18. And there was a day that he told me after his 18th birthday, he came and said to me, he said, Mom, don't worry, I'm preparing. I'm going to be leaving soon. I know that I've turned 18. I'm going to go soon. I said, where are you going to? I said, go to where? He said, do I have to stay here after 18? I said, of course. I said, who said that you need to leave the house at 18? And then he turned and asked me, say, Mom, are you sure? I said, of course. I said, you need to. I said, in my eyes, you're still a child. In fact, you will become an adult when you are at least 20, 21, 25. That's why I consider you an adult. But as it concerns, you've just turned your 18. I said, you can stay in the house as long as you want, but so long as I know that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're being responsible. Never ever. And that is one lesson that I learned that day. I was like, where did he get that impression that when a child turns 18, the child needs to leave the house? And can you imagine if that was what was stressing him, maybe prior to that 18th birthday, and he's been stressing that, oh, now that I'm turning 18, I'm going to leave the house. Where am I going to go to? And it's putting unnecessary pressure on the child. So I told him I had to explain, because we all have different values. Our African value, a child can stay as long as they can. So I just reassured him that you can stay, but you staying is that this is the condition, this is what we're going to do. And just like you said, And you need to feel comfortable as a parent to say, you know what, okay, this is, especially if you know that your child is earning and your child is in that position where they're bringing, they're working, it is okay to actually share the financial responsibility. Just share what you're spending at home as a parent, because as that child, you're teaching that child that, hey, son or daughter, as you're approaching this adulthood, this is what living expenses looks like. This is what you're going to live in a house, whether you're renting a house or the house is on mortgage, but this is what you're going to be paying. This is what you're going to pay with food. You're going to pay something called council tax. You're going to pay something electricity. You know, this water that you're using every day, you're going to be paying for, we pay for water. So it is always important that parents feel comfortable to bring out that expensive expenditure list. You're not telling your child that you're putting them pressure to go and bring, but you're just showcasing to that child that this is the reality of adulthood, and they need to start preparing towards that adulthood. But as a parent now, what is your own little way that you can help that child confidently navigate through that adulthood, making sure that their finances align and that they can take care of their day-to-day responsibilities? That is where we as parents now need to come in to make sure that we put something in place, not to put pressure on them, but to teach them that skill that they need.
Yeah, that's really important. You know, when you were talking, I was just thinking about your son getting to 18. You know, because there's that massive difference between you are a child and you are an adult, and
Mm,
it lies within that 18 years. And sometimes parents don't prepare children until they get to 18, and then they're
mhm,
facing that dilemma that now I'm an adult. And like with my experience working as a social worker,
mhm,
children with children and families, we see that, or I saw that a lot,
mhm,
because the system, once a child gets to 18, if you turn 18 today, then you no longer belong to children's services. Where do you
mm,
go to? So it is clear. It is clear. It's not like, okay, you can stay at home, because it's just so different once it comes to services.
yeah,
So probably your son might have heard that. But again,
mhm,
like with some parents, I've had conversation with some parents, and they say once their child gets to 18, it's a must. They must make contribution towards the rent, because that's what they did when they got to 18. So it's like
mm,
that tradition that it must. So sometimes, whether the child is working or the child is not working, they have to, because it's a must, to make a
mm,
contribution. Imagine the pressure that it will be on a child, especially if a child is not working. And again,
yeah,
even if a child is working, they need to know financial management, because like you
yeah,
said, the excitement that you've got money, you just buy whatever without calculating. But then is to talk about financial literacy to this child, introduce
yeah,
savings, introduce different financial aspects to the
mhm,
child, which honestly, I would say I did not have that. I
yeah,
did not have financial literacy. And my children, they are the ones telling me a lot about, because they are practicing it. I've never
mhm,
asked where they learned that from, but they
mhm,
are practicing it. And like one of them was saying that they have a spreadsheet, and everything they have it there. And I'm like, okay,
yeah,
because
yeah,
because I'm just busy here and there, and even that time to look at the, yeah.
yeah,
So financial
yeah.
literacy is very important.
It's very important. And I think this is one topic that we're going to come one day and talk about it, because again, as when you're running, especially as a parent, you just know that, hey, at least I'm meeting my expenses. Something is coming in, something is going out. Sometimes we don't find the time to really sit down and really get a snapshot of what is actually coming in, what is actually going out, and how can we actually make things healthy. So one thing that I think we're already talking about the first point, where which is explore when financial contribution may be appropriate. That's our first objective. So again, we talk about, we need to first of all consider our child's age and stages of life, just like you said, Nelly. you know it's important we ask question like, are they still in full-time education? Because if your child is still in full-time education, even though when they are 18, you don't expect them to be contributing. Are they actively jobs, in actively job seeking? Are they employed full time? Are they financially stable? Are they working towards a long term goal? These are some of the questions that you need to sit down. We need to sit down as parents and explore these things with our children or with our child. You know, Tell me your plans. What are your plans? If you want to work, what is your intention of working a full time? What is your intention of working part time? What is your budget? All these things we need to find out, because a 17-year-old who is still in school is different from a 25-year-old who is working full time with no financial responsibility. We need to understand that, so that we don't put unnecessary pressure on our children. So that is the first point that I had on there, Nelly. I think we're just going to be discussing if you have some
Yeah,
point on
and
that as
one
well.
one point that I'll add to that is the family, the household could be experiencing financial pressure, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes parents, like I've heard parents say that a child who is in, say, university, that's post
Mm-hmm.
18, and they have like a part-time job, or generally that children who are in the university, they are
Mm-hmm.
financially well off than parents and
Yeah.
things like that. So some parents, because of that, they put on that I don't know what word to use, but they expect their child to make huge contribution towards the household maintenance. It could be because
Mm-hmm.
they are experiencing financial pressure. But like you rightly said, you need to give that consideration to the child. How is it impacting that child? Because
Yeah.
if the child turns 18 and the first thing they know is they need to be paying the bills for the whole house,
Yeah.
that would deter the child from even making progress, even if they were very ambitious, because they would think that, why are they just working the money and it's going into the house when a few months back all those bills were being paid? So it's for parents to, I mean, have lots and lots of consideration. It doesn't mean that you don't do what you feel is right, because like
Mm-hmm.
we said at the very beginning, is the intentionality. What are your
Yes.
intentions? Are you wanting to charge the child to take off some certain pressure, or do you want the child to take the full responsibility and things like that? So there's no wrong, there's no right. Every
Yeah.
household have their own unique way of carrying out with their financial responsibilities and daily activities, but is to consider the impact on the child, because this child is still growing and
Yeah.
they need that time, they need that freedom, they need to explore, and giving
Mm-hmm.
that guidance on them to know what it entails to be an adult, take the adult responsibility. This is what it is, and it's to push them gradually into knowing or into taking those responsibilities, rather than they just wake up one morning and you are an adult, this is what you need to do. Because like
Yeah.
I remember when my daughter, one of my daughters, completed uni, and because they were back home, the council tax came. And when I told her, I said, this is a council tax. And it was like, what is council tax? And that was when I was like, this is council tax. This is the amount. I explained what council tax is. I said, besides
Mm.
that, I showed the water bill. Just like you said, I had a list, because prior to that, I used to have my budget, because
Yeah.
I was being paid monthly. So I had
Yes.
a budget that this is what is coming in, these are my bills, this is what I put aside for food and things like that. So it was really guiding me. So
Mm-hmm.
because I had all my expenses and the income, I was like, this is what has changed. So I just
Yeah.
showed, I said, as an adult, these are the things that you must pay. So
Yes.
it's just getting them prepared. And when one of my daughters, she is self-employed, and she got was it council tax or something tax at work,
Mhm.
and she was like, "Mom, what is this?" I'm like, "Tax." So
Yeah.
it's not to assume that when our children get to 18, they'll know things, because
Mhm.
ourselves, we are still learning. That
Yeah.
there's just so much to learn.
Absolutely. This is what my son, when after he turned 18, towards 19, when he started getting up in the morning, first thing in the morning, he will catch two buses to go to work and then come back. There was one day he came back, he looked at me and he said, Mom, I was excited about this adulthood thing, but this adulthood thing is a scam. He said, it's a scam. I said, what do you mean? It's what do you mean? He said, look, everything, I've just cut off everything. You know, you used to book, because when they're a child, you book their dental appointment, you book their
Mm-hmm.
GP appointment, you book everything for them. You know, it was easy. You just tell them that I've booked your dental appointment, I've booked your GP appointment, your appointment on this day, that day, I load all of them, we go there. Now he needs to book his own appointment. When he calls the GP is asking him questions that he doesn't know. I said, this is where now you need to start knowing all of those details. And he said to me, and then not just that, Mom, now, bus fare has gone up. I'm not paying child bus fare anymore. I'm paying adult. I'm paying adult. So he analyzed everything, and then he just concluded that this adult whole thing is a scam. I said, oh, that's life, and talking on that, one thing that I've seen and I've noticed a lot with parents, and this is the thing that we're talking, that parents, please, let's really be mindful about this whole financial thing. Because when as parents, we are just waiting that that child should turn adulthood, and then we can start levying that child without the right reasons. We put pressure on that child, and when that child cannot deliver, I've seen parents who have chased children out. They say, you know what, if you cannot pay, then leave. Okay, you're asking that child to leave. Leave to where? Where are they going to stay? Are they going to go on the street? You know. And now, if you as a parent cannot accommodate them home just because maybe they are not contributing, and you push them on the street, they're going to land in wrong hands. You know, wrong hands or wrong people are going to welcome them on the street, and you know what that means. As a parent, and this is one thing that we need to be able to know, that yes, although we would want them to contribute, we as parents need to make sure that even if they don't contribute, can we meet up the bills? Can we contribute? Can we make sure that we continue to pay at least essential bills like house rent, council tax, what those main measure bills that you can pay? In terms of food, like I always say, even like now at home, most of the time I'll buy just generic food, just generic things that needs to be at home. And then anybody, if you want your special meal, you can go out there and purchase your special meal and come and cook your special meal. That is on you. But I've made sure that at least there's generic things that are in the house. Oil, salt, those basic things. There's enough rice, there's enough tomatoes and all of that. Now it's up to you to go and buy whatever thing you want to buy and come and cook. Now, when it comes about financial contribution, we're talking about, it's not, I think we now we're talking about the second. We should talk about discuss teaching responsibility. Because one thing I just want us to bang on, Nelly, is the fact that when we tell our children to pay rent, like I've explained before in my own example, I am doing it as a way of teaching them that there will come a point where you're going to be renting or you're going to be paying your mortgage. And if you don't pay your rent or your mortgage at the end of the month, you can be kicked out of that house, right? So it's about making sure that You budget that rent, you budget money for water bill, you budget money for whatever. And I always tell my son that assume that you're renting a 1 bedroom house. How much is a 1 bedroom house? What is the rent? Write it down. What water bill for you alone? Maybe you're staying in that house, you alone. How much is that? Put it down. The council tax for a single person, put it down. Whatever electricity, internet, and all of that, broadband, what is it going to cost? Put it down. In total, how much does that come to? If it comes to say 800 or whatever, 900 pounds, that is what you need to start learning now to put aside from your salary. So when you take your wages, your salary, you need to put that aside every month, because whether you're still living under my roof or not, that is teaching you that whether in a few years time you move out, that is what you're going to be spending. At least that is what you're going to start off with first. And for me, when I was doing that, I was teaching him that before you go and start spending money to maybe go buy that expensive dress or that expensive shoes, you have taken care of your home maintenance, so that nobody kicks you out of their home tomorrow. So keep that money. Even if you're not using it, put that money aside. That money also goes as a savings for you down the line. If you're choosing whether to buy your own house or whatever you want to do, you're going to go in that pot that you've been saving that money in, and that money is going to help you. Not just that, it is teaching you that at the end of the month, as your wages come in, that 800 pounds goes straight away. Put an automatic debit that goes out. And then you know that once that 800 pounds goes out, the rest that is in your account, okay, you can use it as you want. So for me, when I was doing that, it's kind of teaching them that responsibility, that, you know what, it's about budgeting, it's about financial planning, it's about appreciating for household cost. Because if we don't do that, they take us for granted. Everything they want as parents, we buy. When they go out there, come, their food is cooked. They don't even calculate that, hey, mom has or dad has gone to the shop. They've bought that meal, they've come home, they've cooked it, and then they just eat it without actually taking into consideration all of those things. And this is also preparing them for that independent living, so that even if the parent is not there, they can actually, fend for themselves without going through that pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some very vital points there, which, like we've talked about, financial literacy, and all that comes down to communication. Because
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of times that parents know what they are going through, but then they don't communicate that to their children. So then
Mm-hmm.
the children, they know about the situation when they are met with that situation, and then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't know how to go about it. So, like we have talked about, preparing our children is when there's the opportunity, or when we know that they are getting to whatever is necessary. It's not that just carry all the adulthood stuff and just throw at them. Is to be
Yeah.
introducing them gradually. For instance, you've talked about independence. Like, you don't wait until 1 month to when a child is getting to 18 before you start
Mm-hmm.
telling them to learn how to make basic, simple food for themselves. That starts
Yeah.
much earlier. So it's the same thing, because, like, introducing children to, even if they're still in college, for them to have like weekend jobs. So
Yeah.
then at that time, they know that they are working weekends. And if they're working 4 hours or 8 hours, they know that that is their money. And it gives them some independence to know that they actually worked for that money. And they
Yeah.
start knowing that they cannot just spend the money. They, in a way,
Absolutely.
they are working on whatever money is there, because they know how hard they've
Yes.
taken to earn that money. So again, that's some ways to prepare children for the future,
Yeah.
and for financial management, actually.
Yeah. That is so true. And this is what I said one day, Nelly, that when I said to one parent that my children, I stopped giving pocket money to my children at 16. When a child turns 16, well, in the UK, we all know, once a child turns 16 in this country, before a few months to their 16th birthday, they've got their national insurance number delivered to them. And that is just to prepare them. I remember the first day my son had his national insurance number. He held it, his card. He held it like, Mom, what is this? I said, that's what they're telling you, that you're not prepared to go and work. At 16, you can go work. I say, really? I say, yes. And so for me, at the age of 16, when they were still in school, I stopped giving them pocket money. What is pocket money? And this is the thing that I keep telling. I sometimes I explain, because some parents will look at you like, oh no, you're being harsh, or you're being this, you're being that. Pocket money is what? Pocket money is that money that you give your child. I don't know, some depending on the budget that everybody give their child different amount. I used to give my children, say maybe at the end of the week, I'll give them, say, maybe 10, 15 pounds, because that pocket money is just for them to have extra money in their pocket, that when they go to school, maybe if they want to buy sweets or they want to buy something, at least they know that they've got some money, that they can buy that thing with. That was not, at least that was different from the overall other things that I was doing to them, which I was still doing as a parent. But that pocket money, you see, that pocket money, that 15 pounds, that 10 pounds, that 20 pounds that I used to give them, I said, no, I'm not going to give you that pocket money. You need to earn that pocket money. My son, when he turned 16, what he did is that he actually he had a part-time job. He was working 2 hours a week, and that 2 hours a week could give him that his pocket money, and that is how gradually he started. My daughter, the same, when she turned 16, I remember the first day she found a job in a football ground, and he had to wear this jacket. You know how tiny she was, and she wore this jacket on that rain. She went that day. That day it rained, and she came back. It's like she was like, I said, how did it go? She said, Mom, it was tough. I said, pocket money. You need to earn that pocket money. So again, as a parent, when you do things like that, you feel like on the hand side is harsh, but they picked it up. They know that, okay, from their pocket money, it's up to them now. If they're enjoying it and they see that it is good to earn money and use their money, now it's up to them to say, okay, let me look now for a better job as I'm getting older. Let me navigate this. Let me get to this so that I get that money so that I can be independent. So I saw it as a way of teaching them that financial independence and giving them that opportunity to live independently, making sure that they can self-sustain themselves without too much reliance. Are there times that they're going to come back and ask me? Of course, yes. There are days that they'll come back and say, my daughter will say, Mom, please, I haven't got money for whatever. I will give. But knowing that at least I am stepping in when in need.
Yeah.
I know that they don't have it. That's when I step in, So again, like we say, everybody has got their own way, their own routine, or whatever pattern that works for them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, mine is similar to yours, and I think that's something that we need, that is good to encourage our children. I mean, guide them gradually to that independence, to start earning, to start getting into part-time job, because I mean, I don't know how much it is now, but if you are, they pay by age.
Yeah.
So if you are 14 years, I think it's like £4 something per hour. I don't know how much it is now,
Mm,
but then it changes.
yeah.
It changes with age, and then you
Yeah.
get the full minimum wage when you are 21. Is it 21 or 8? No, it's 21,
It's
isn't it?
21. It's 20
Yeah,
from
yeah.
21 above. You get a full minimum wage.
Yeah, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
remember one of my daughters, it was like she was working and she was having the 18-year-old payment. And then within, I mean, she worked like this week, and next week she did the same shift. But then the money went up, and she was like, Mom, I can't believe now I'm getting. So, because I mean, just like yourself and me, when
Mm-hmm.
you earn from what you have worked for, it feels different. because
Yes.
you have that sense of accomplishment, that pride, which is a
Yes.
feeling that, I mean, it's hard to describe that feeling, but it's a nice feeling.
Yes. Yes. Just the fact that you don't want to rely on your parents. Some children find it a full achievement that, and they know, especially pet children who understand maybe the circumstances of that parent, they know that this parent has actually been there for us. They've been contributing, they've been doing this. This is my own little way of supporting them or making sure that I take that pressure off them. You're just
Mm,
taking that pressure off them, just by knowing that if you're working for your pocket money, that is 15 pounds pressure off your parent, which that's something that you can actually comfortably earn that 15 pounds.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
it's actually making sure that as parent we look at it that way, that it is not about any pressure. It is not about, if that child were not to bring that money in, you as a parent are still going to give them. Right? You're not going to turn around and start cursing them and say, oh, go look at there, your friends are making the money, your friends are working, your friends are this. No, it's about saying, you know what, I appreciate the fact that this child wants to, or maybe the child may even want to work, but then they lack the confidence to go out there and work. Now, as a parent, how are you going to help that child to build that confidence and that self-esteem to go out there and find that job? Maybe at that moment, that is what we as a parent, you have to be focusing on. Because whether we like it or not, that child is going to have to face that world of work where they have to work. And if they're struggling with their confidence now, or their self-esteem or whatever thing, maybe we need to start investing and making sure that we need to start reframing their mind, making them, preparing them, building them gradually into that workspace. And like I always say, there is no other way of doing that to your child than also teaching your child that, hey, I am working, or this is what I am doing. So it is very important that we take all of that into consideration to prepare them for that independence. Because if we don't do that, that burden is going to come back to us, Nelly. I've seen parents, children who are adult, 20, 25, 26, 30. They've gone out there and they're coming back home and putting pressure on their parents that you need to give me this. You need to again, at the end of the day, that pressure is on you, the parent. So which again, people are
You
different.
know,
People have the yeah.
yeah, it is said that a child will always be a child in the eyes of the parents.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of, there's a difference when the child is being dependent and when the child is being independent.
Mm-hmm.
A child might be independent, but then because of circumstances, they might become dependent, which
Mm-hmm.
that is understood because, for instance, if say that there are health issues involved and maybe the adult child left home, and then because
Mm-hmm.
of ill health, they couldn't take care of themselves, they needed that support around them, they come back home
Yes. Yes.
and are not able to work, that's a
Yes.
different case.
Absolutely.
So that's why we
Absolutely.
are saying here that every family circumstance is different. So we are just talking general. We are not being
Yes.
very specific. So
Yes.
anyone who is listening, don't feel that we are giving a prescriptive direction of what you need to do. No, we're just sharing our experiences. But then
Yeah.
family situations are very different. Peggy and myself are
Exactly.
talking, but my family circumstances are very different from Peggy's and vice
Yeah.
versa. So we are just sharing our experiences. So don't think that we are giving like a prescription that this is what you need to do. You need
Yeah.
to
No,
first
no,
of
no.
all
I we said,
consider what your family is.
exactly. And as we said at the beginning, that there is no one size fit all
Eh,
solution. Everybody have got their solution. And whatever thing we're doing is about looking at how is it comfortable for us and for our child? How is it impacting us and our child? Some people may be comfortable with whatever direction that they want to take, whether they charge the child or they don't charge the child. It all depends on your own, even family values. It all depends on your values as a family, or even as a or your culture. All of that do matter. So I don't know,
I
Nelly,
think
whether
that
we
one
want.
takes us nicely to the point three, which is the considerations.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we have consider family values, circumstances, and expectations.
Yeah.
So some of
Absolutely.
the did you want to say something?
No, no, I was just affirming what you were saying.
Oh, okay. So for the consideration, it depends. Focus on what your family prioritizes, because for some families they prioritize education while others prioritize financial stability, whereby when the child finishes, whether high school or college or university, they go straight into work, but others
Mm-hmm.
will want them to pursue their education and do undergraduate, masters, PhD, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever they are doing. So focus on your circumstance. What are your priorities?
Yeah, that is true. And one thing that we also want to one thing that I also skip that I think it would be important to make parents aware is that when we talk about contribution, contribution does not only come in terms of financial contribution. A child may be at home, they are adult, or maybe they are young adult at home. They may not be bringing finances in at home, but they are helping to cook. They are cooking, they are cleaning, they're helping with siblings if they've got younger siblings, they're running errands in the house, and they're doing just household management. That is enough. That is still responsibility. That is just their own contribution that they are still contributing into the family. And that is taking relieving you as a parent, taking some pressure off you as well. And again, what is that teaching? Is teaching is building that character in them, because that down the line they will have to be running those errands in their own homes. So that's just one thing I just wanted to add, that it's not contribution is not only the finances, it's about others that we need to also pay attention, which I think we touched on earlier as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And all what we are talking about contributions here is to help the young person or our young adult child to to understand or to hear their own views about it. Though
Yeah.
it can be common that when you talk to a child about making contribution, define the kind of contribution you want the child to make. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just hear from them, because like for me, what I do is I throw it out there, like the question or the suggestion, and then wait for them to say whatever, because sometimes children might already have an idea, be thinking about it, but then they
Yeah.
might not know how to put it forward to the parent. So when the
Yeah.
parent brings it up as a suggestion, then they'll hear about the child. The child, it might be like a shock to the child. It might be something
Mm-hmm.
that the child had already been thinking about, because, with social media, children learn a lot. Children
Yes.
learn a lot. They are forward thinkers. They have so much information that we as parents, we don't even have the information that our children have. So for me, in anything, I always take the approach of just asking the question for the
Mm-hmm.
child to explain what they already know. So then from
Yeah.
there, I adapt my responses to what they already know. Because sometimes I ask, and a child will be the one telling me a lot about whatever I've asked for, just to show
Yeah.
me, and that will show me that they have been thinking about it as well. So it
Mm-hmm.
will not just be from me, and which is a good sign. Some cases the child has no idea, because I mean,
Yeah.
in this adult world, there are just so many things out there that even like adults are still trying to figure things out. One
Yeah.
more of just young adults who are still, I mean, they've just, will say they've just come out from wearing nappies, and now we expect.
Yeah. To the adults. Yeah.
Mhm.
And one thing that I just want to touch on as well, Nelly, there is something in human behavior which as adult, whether as adult or even whatever age you are, there is that something in that human behavior when it comes to finances. There's something called disposable income. Your disposable income, of course, is that money where you've deducted all your expenses and all of that, and you've got that left over that to spend. Now, one thing I've noticed amongst children, or amongst even ourselves as individual, as parents, when we have a lot of disposable income without planning, the chances that we're going to spend that disposable income on unnecessary things is high. That's when you walk into a shop, even if you do not have plans to buy something, you say, "Oh, that's a nice shoes. Oh, that's a nice jacket." And at the end of at the back of your head, you know that, hey, by the way, I've got this disposable income. I can as well spend it on that thing. We're not saying that don't spend, don't buy for yourself, don't treat yourself. It's nice to do that. But is it compulsory? Is that shopping out of there's a right word I'm looking for it. Is it are you
Compulsive shopping.
shopping? Yes. Are you shopping as needed? Do you need that thing, or you're just shopping because out of compulsion? If that's the right word, Nelly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the thing that I notice
Or were
again.
you looking at impulsive shopping?
Impulsive shopping. That is what I was looking for. Impulsive shopping.
Mm.
And this is one thing that we as parents, the reason why sometimes, if possible, and especially if you know that maybe your child is working, is earning, doing a full-time job, they're earning a reasonable amount of money, you need to ask yourself, what is their disposable income? What is their disposable income, and how are they using that disposable income? Because I noticed when my son was having a reasonable amount of disposable income, my son, if he goes to London, he's just going to drive anywhere. He's going to go to any road, and then as he's coming back to Stoke, immediately he's arriving, tickets are following him. There was a time that I was getting like in a month, my son would get like a traffic whatever, maybe he's gone into a wrong zone and all of that. He'll get like 4 or 5 tickets, and they're not cheap. One is 60
Yeah.
pounds,
Yeah.
right? And you're thinking that if you're paying parking ticket or whatever ticket, 60 pounds, say three in a month, how much is that? That's about 180 pounds a month.
Yeah.
And every time it came through, I would say, like, again, he said, "Oh, mom, I'm going to sort it out. Mom, don't worry, I'm going to sort it out." So you see, is that disposable income that is speaking, because for him, he feels that he's got that disposable income. He can just do anything anyhow and then get the fine and then pay for it.
You know, I think I will differ there a bit because I don't feel that is that he did it intentionally. Why I'm saying this is because my daughter, one of my daughters, she the same thing. Anytime
Mm,
she comes and there's a yellow, the yellow plastic. Sometimes it's not even the yellow uh, plastic.
yeah.
Sometimes it's mail. So
Yes.
when it comes, I say again. I should be like, oh, mom. Uh, so sometimes I think it's because now there's a lot of changes, whether reconstruction and reconstruction. There's always work somewhere all the time. So, for
Yeah.
instance, for me, I don't drive into the city center because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of changes there. You have one way drive. And to me, when I used to go there, I knew that you could just go, but now they've changed it. But when I'm on foot, I know my way around it. So it could be that kind of a thing where they go, and you know how complicated London is. I've said that
Mm.
I will never, I hate going to London. And even if it means that I have to go to London, I will not drive in London. I will
But
prefer to get there.
yeah, I understand. But your mindset, why are you not gonna drive there? You're not driving there. Why? Because you're scared that you're gonna pick up a ticket, right?
No, no, it's not the ticket because London is too congested. I feel very
Yeah.
Yeah, London is too congested. I don't like it. And even from an experience that I had that I used the underground, it's just too. just too busy, just too crowded. It's not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a village woman. I like living in the village with few people. But anyway, so going back to the original point, I think your son did not do that on purpose, because it was
Yes.
similar to my daughter. She was going out there and getting this ticket. I mean, it's not like she was going there to look for the ticket. She would go,
Yeah.
and sometimes she will come and tell me and say, Mom, I passed on the wrong road. Because imagine, like, there's a major road, and then the road gets somewhere and it's for buses only. Where do you go to if you had not known that road before? So
Yeah.
things like that, they can easily get
Yeah.
the tickets. And then
Yeah.
sometimes, like going shopping, they park the car and they go, say parking is like 90 minutes free parking where there's no paid for parking. They park the car, leave that shop, go to the next shop, and then by the time they come back, it's like 2 hours. That's already 120 minutes, 30 minutes after the 90 minutes. So then they get a ticket. And now
Mhm.
there are lots of private parkings around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but what I'm trying to say again is that if you're conscious as a child, or whether as a whoever, as an adult or whatever, if you're conscious of the fact that if I if I go to this place, I need to be careful, because if I don't, I'm gonna get that money. I'm gonna have to pay that money. For somebody who hasn't got the money, they'll be extremely careful because they don't want to pay that money. So when my son was getting all those tickets, one thing that I did is that I had to we sat down one day and we calculated how much he had paid on charges for 6 months. And he himself, when he saw the amount,
Yeah.
it was quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, even if you have money, you're the richest person. If you're spending this unnecessarily, you're gonna end up bankrupt. So it's not about saying that you're not going to get those tickets, but it's about being conscious that when you're going out there, you're being conscious that I don't want to spend money unnecessarily on something that I can literally avoid by
Exactly.
maybe doing my research before I go to this zone. If I'm going to London, which are the zones that I can go there? Can I park my
Yeah.
car somewhere is safe and then walk? That is going to save me money. So we're coming back again on that budgeting, on that making sure that we that the budgeting that money, or making sure that that disposable income, because your disposable income is not just to give it for free, just to be paying unnecessary thing left and right. That money is for there to help you build your own future, or kind of do your own thing that can help you. So this is why I'm saying that again. Sometimes by you asking your child to contribute something towards the house, is making that child understand that money can be tight. Money needs to be managed, right? There are days that I may not have this money. So I need to make sure that whatever I have today, I can save up, or I can manage it wisely, so that tomorrow it can help me. But if we don't ask that child to contribute, you know, it's just going to leave them with that disposable income. They know that I've got the money. I've got the money. I can buy this. I can buy that. Even things that they don't need, they'll buy those things. So again, like we say, it's about different. What is it that you as a parent and your child, what do you want? Is sit down, have that conversation. Feel free, let them share with you what they're earning if they are comfortable to share. Because some children as well, they don't want their parents to know how much they're earning you know
Mm-hmm.
so if your child can be comfortable to tell you how much they're earning, it's about sitting down, letting that child know that you are not asking them to contribute out of pressure. You're not asking them, but this is what you want them. You're preparing them. What is their plan now that you're earning this amount? What is your plans? What are you doing? What is your budget? Show me your budget, show me your plan. By so doing, either you can know now how to help to guide your child that, okay, can you contribute? Are you comfortable contributing towards this little thing, whether maybe paying just that water bill? Are you comfortable paying towards cancer tax? Are you comfortable paying maybe broadband? If they are comfortable, then of course, by all means, then without actually putting pressure on them, by all means, So, but again, like we say, there is no one size fit all. Everybody has got their approach.
Yeah, like the point where you've talked about knowing if the child is comfortable telling the parent how much they earn. I think
Mm.
sometimes that for some children, it might put them off because, I mean, this one now is relating to a lot of what I've heard from other parents because
Yeah.
when a parent knows that the child is earning that much, the parent
Mm-hmm.
now is calculating how much that child will be spending. So, in a way, the
Yes.
parent will want to be controlling that child to spend the
Yes.
money in the way that the parent wants, but it's not the way
Mm-hmm.
that the child wants. So, sometimes
Yeah.
that can put children off.
Yeah. No, that is so true. That is so true. That's why I say if the child is comfortable, because again,
Mm-hmm.
and it will all depend on your relationship that you have with that child.
Yeah.
Some, I remember my son. There was one time that my son had a big package pay, and he didn't want to show me. But then, unfortunately, he wanted to print a payslip one day, and it landed on my. In fact, he had to ask me to print it off, And then we had the conversation, and then of course he told me what he had used, to invest in his self development, which was good. So, like I always
Mm-hmm.
say, sometimes it's not a must. We must not be sneaking, like sniffing everything that the child. We need to give them some credit, give them some
Mm-hmm.
independence, give them some space. We need to trust them that they can manage themselves, unless we see that things are going the other way before we can just call them that, hey, what is happening? Can you share with
Yeah.
me what is happening? Just so that you give them that moral compass, just be that guide, for
Mm-hmm.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we've discussed everything. We've kind of talked about cover the points that we wanted to cover. And again, just to summarize that, our goal today for this message, our for this topic today, the goal was for parents not to keep children. Well, the goal is that we don't want children dependent on us forever, because whether we like it or not, they are going to move out into independence. They are going to move out someday. And like Nelly said, the question is, are we preparing them wisely and comfortably towards that independence? So this is what some of these things will come in. And finances, whether we like it or not, is going to be part of that their journey into that independence. And it's also about to raise adults who can stand comfortably on their own, you know. And it's also means this sometimes also means that we need to be offering them the support that they need, because trust me, our children, they will not get it right. Same as us parents, we don't always get it right. But when they don't get it right, what do? Our approach do matter.
Yeah.
We need to draw them closer, not chastising them, not making them feeling guilty, not making them feel like they're a failure. No, we are encouraging them, telling them, or kind of giving them the right path, or the suggestive path that they can take. Whether or not they accept that path is up to them. We cannot also force it on them. It's something that they need to feel comfortably with. And at the end of the day, it's about making sure that when they are out there, can we comfortably as parents say, what, I've done my best to make sure that that child is out there, they can live on their own. So yeah.
With this life, it doesn't have to be comfortable, but
Yeah.
it's a necessity. For me, it goes down to communication
Yeah.
because no matter how bad a situation is, how do you communicate that same
Hmm.
situation? So
Yeah.
it just goes back to how we communicate whatever we have to communicate because like we've said on this show so many times, and again, looking at the Afro Caribbean parents, we struggle, we
Hmm.
have an issue with communication. We need to really take a step back and really be
Hmm.
communicating properly, taking out
Yeah.
all the assumptions because parents make so many assumptions that the child understands or that other people understand. No, people are not
Hmm.
mind readers. So
Yeah.
communication is something that we need to work on seriously.
So true. So true. Okay. I think we've covered nearly everything that we had to
Yeah,
cover.
and the time as well.
Yes, at the time as well. And hopefully you've learned one or two things here. Like we said, there's not one size fit all. It's all what is comfortable for you and your child. And making sure that at least you're not putting your child under any pressure and that your child is comfortable, with whatever thing they're doing to our household and all of that. So thank you so much for watching. And like Nelly and I always say, if you have any comment, you can always put your comment down in the comment section. And if you want to be a backstage, come to the backstage with us, always feel free to join us. Let us know and we will bring you backstage. So without further ado, Nelly, is there anything from you? And
No,
then we
so if
can.
you want to join us backstage, just send us a direct message and we'll get back to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apart from that, this is it from us. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank you.
see you
Bye.
at our
Have a
next
great day.
session. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
For a purpose, I was born for fulfillment. I was born to shine and not to be abused.